Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 2018 Porsche 718 Cayman GTS. Now this is part of the 4th generation that started production in 2016, and the 718, part of its name, is in reference to the classic racer that won the Targa Florio race in 1959 and 1960, while also evoking the spirit of that car, which was lightweight and had a very small engine in comparison to the competition that it was up against, but because it was lightweight, it managed to beat that competition that had more powerful and larger engines. And yeah, this evokes that spirit quite a fair bit because it only weighs 3,135 pounds, which isn't all that much for a sports car these days. And yeah, the engine is another part of that. Now the Cayman and the Boxster, which, you know, this is the same kind of vehicle between the two different names, have long had a flat 6 engine ranging from around 2 litres all the way up to 3.8, but this has a 2.5 litre turbocharged flat 4 engine, which is very daring from Porsche because for a long time their sports cars have only had flat 6s or more. You have to go all the way back to the likes of the 944 to find a car with a smaller engine than a flat 6. So yeah, it's quite a daring move from Porsche, but there is a lot of reasons behind that. And yeah, it's certainly not lacking for power despite having such a small engine, because it has 361 horsepower and 317 pounds-feet of torque, which is fairly decent, especially considering, like I said, it only weighs just over 3,000 pounds. And yeah, makes a lot of sense really, because it means that it's more economical, it's slightly lighter than a flat 6, so it's actually a little bit better balanced, and yeah, it's also going to be more usable on a day-to-day basis, and it actually has slightly more torque than the flat 6 that is also available in this car, which is a 4 litre, which is the biggest flat 6 any Cayman or Boxster has ever had. But even that doesn't have quite as much torque as this. It has a lot more power, but not quite as much torque. And yeah, it's yeah, fairly impressive engine, to be honest. Not massively over excited about it in terms of its engine noise, but the power and torque is commendable, quite frankly. And yeah, it's a good direction for Porsche to be going, because obviously, you know, emissions are getting ever stricter. You know, fossil fuels are becoming less and less kindly looked at, and obviously eventually new cars are going to be banned from having combustion engines at all. So yeah, it is a good direction for Porsche to be going to up until that point, because yeah, there's only so much you can do in terms of increasing power again and again and again before you end up getting to a point where you can't increase it. Me personally, I feel that cars need to be going less powerful, lighter, and going down to move forward. That's quite frankly, because like I said, there's no ceiling that you're going to get to, and even the flat 6 in this car has more than 400 horsepower, which is verging on Porsche 911 territory in the standard version. So yeah, there's only really so far you can go, and I think a smaller, lighter kind of car like based on this would go down really rather well with this engine. So yeah, I think Porsche should look into that, and other companies as well. You know, obviously Alfa Romeo have had the 4C, which was a lightweight turbocharged small engine car, and obviously, you know, Mazda with the MX-5 have always had small engines in their cars and the like, so with the MX-5. So yeah, it's definitely a direction that it should go in. Unfortunately, we can't look at the car in any more detail, we can't see the engine or look in the front boot there, but nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see just what this car can do. Now, like I said, the engine noise isn't particularly great in this car, which is to be expected. You know, small engines with turbochargers generally aren't all that good in terms of engine noise. So if you do want a car that is all about the engine noise and obviously has more power, then the 4 litre flat 6 is going to be the car for you. But if you want a car that is a bit more balanced, a bit more compromised, more about compromise even, because, you know, not everybody's going to be able to afford to run a 4 litre flat 6 engine. And yeah, this is a genuine alternative, because yeah, it doesn't have quite as much power, but it has slightly more torque, about 7 extra pounds-feet, which gives it a little bit more of a meaty feel to it. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's going to be a more usable engine, it's going to be more economical, and yeah, when you're already spending a lot of money on this car in the first place, running costs do obviously negatively impact the overall price of actually owning one. And yeah, that's something to consider. Now obviously most people probably will just go for the 4 litre flat 6, which again is understandable. It's a sports car, it's supposed to sound great, it's supposed to have a lot of power and the like, but you know, there's a balance to be had, and this pretty much strikes that balance perfectly. Now yeah, again, like I said, the engine noise isn't all that great, but that's the only real downside to this, outside of not having quite as much power. So yeah, it's a solid all-round engine, to be honest, and you can even have it in a smaller version if you want to be even more economical. You can have it as a 2 litre flat 4 turbocharged engine, which is still pretty decent in terms of power. It has nearly 300 horsepower, which in a car that weighs as light as this, it's a fairly decent amount, and yeah, that's still by no means a slouch. But this in terms of acceleration is still pretty brisk. 0 to 60 in 3.614 seconds, 0 to 100 in 8.7 seconds, and it going to a top speed of 176 miles an hour, which is fairly incredible, to be honest. Even the flat 6 only gets up to about 189, and yeah, unfortunately it doesn't have the PDK gearbox that this does at the moment, so this is actually slightly quicker than that car, as it only has a 6-speed manual, whereas this obviously has a 7-speed PDK gearbox. But yeah, I'm sure once a PDK comes available with that engine, then yeah, that'll be monstrously quick. And yeah, it's easy to see why, because this is a really rather well balanced car. Caymans generally always have been a good driver's car. The big problems have always been the looks and the fact that it's never been quite as good as you expected it to be, because obviously this has got to fit behind the 911, so it's never going to be quite as quick as that car. But to be honest, I'd have the GT4 Spider that is on offer, because it's got a way better looking body. It's a convertible, so it loses the hideous roof, which also means it has a much better looking rear end. And yeah, you can also get the flat 6 with it as well, so you're getting more than 400 horsepower in a car that looks absolutely gorgeous. It's easily one of the best looking Porsches for a long time as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's the car version I'd go for. But this is still a brilliant sports car, to be honest, and yeah, can wholly get behind Porsche's direction in going smaller engines but still having a lot of power, which again is the kind of direction more car companies really need to go for, because there's only so much horsepower you're going to get out of cars these days, and I think focusing on having a lightweight car with a fair decent amount of power out of a small engine is the primary goal. You've seen it in plenty of other car companies these days, where they're going for smaller engines. Jaguar going for V6s, Maserati going for V6s, and yeah, even Alfa Romeo going for V6s as well, which isn't a first for them, but they're managing to bring out V6s that not only sound good like they used to, but also have plenty of power, which yeah, is a direction I'm fine with, as long as they're good cars to drive and sound good. This doesn't sound good, but it's still a really fun sports car to drive. Handles really rather well. Slightly better balance than the GTS that it replaces, that we also have on this game, because it has a smaller engine, even though it is slightly heavier. And yeah, cracking car in terms of fun driving ability, because yeah, at the end of the day, might not have as a great sounding engine, but it's still able to rip round corners and fly down straights. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.